Have you kept an eye on what brands and businesses are trying to do with youth? I mean, where do you think brands are going wrong? Because all the briefs we get, everybody wants to talk to Gen Z.
No tier 2 person thinks they're a tier 2 person, and no tier 1 person thinks they're an
because
Indian.
the internet has leveled the geography.
वो international सोच रहे हैं, ये लोग सोच रहे हैं कि मैं तो city का हूँ, city वाले सोच रहे हैं मैं तो international.
Nikhil, from the digital content perspective, do you think this whole idea of vulnerability and authenticity will become a fashionable counter trend now? And
it already has.
Already has.
I feel like I see it. A lot of people milking it for views. Having said that, I do feel like that our generation, the young generation, is really smart.
They can figure
it out. I kept hearing a lot of people when I talk to them, what kind of personality are you? A lot of people will be like, I'm an introvert. Now you hear that 2, 3, 4 times and you're like, okay, fine, that's the thing. Even the most extrovertish person would be like, I'm an introvert. I'm a secret introvert.
Wow.
And now then I started asking people, what would you classify as? 8 out of 10 people would be like introvert. And the reason for that is because they genuinely feel like they've not had any safe space, they've not had any place that they can genuinely express themselves.
Hello and welcome to the Dheeraj Sinha podcast, where we make connections between brand, business and culture. And today on my show is Nikhil Taneja, who's the founder of Yuva, which has multiple IPs under it. IPs such as Be a Man Yaar, The Good Girl Show, and so on and so forth. Nikhil, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dheeraj. Such a pleasure to be here.
Amazing. So, Nikhil, I've been seeing your content and all of that, right? You talk about masculinity, you talk about girl power, you talk about being authentic, right? And of course, you talk about youth in a very passionate and deep way, right? So one large platform, multiple IPs, multiple conversations. And I also see that in your content, you bring your whole self, right? So there are videos about your daughter on your Insta. At the same time, there are very deep videos about mental health and listening, right? So what's the thread behind all of this?
I think the thread is empathy. It's a very clear thread. We have these 10 commandments at Yuva. The first one is our politics is empathy. You know, the reason we are doing what we're doing is because we feel a lack of that in the world around us. And we don't feel like it's necessarily because of the fact that people don't want to be empathetic, but we feel like, I mean, for many, many reasons, whether it is climate change, whether it is, you know, the political instability of the world, whether it is capitalism, to be very honest, empathy has been, I think, beaten out of people. I think there's just so much overwhelm in the world around us. There is so much noise. There is so much... I don't think that we are giving the time, space, and for people to really feel things. And we believe that's actually the thing that will help us survive as a species. So it's not even, we're not doing it only because it's a social impact project. We believe it's a human project. If empathy does not survive the world does not survive itself. We're going to lose out on the world if we don't have, you started by saying, we build connections. The only way you can build connections is through empathy. So for us, it's really, really important to make sure that that's the through line of everything we do.
Yeah, very interesting. So let's go a little deeper. Yuva, platform for youth, by the youth. I've in fact been very passionate about youth as a topic, right? Long time back, built a brand called Virgin Mobile, sharply positioned around youth. We managed to do things at that point in time, which we will go to jail for today, but but hugely passionate about giving voice to youth. In fact, one of my longest standing ideas, which no client ever bought, was to build a youth parliament. Right?
Well, let's talk after this.
Let's discuss your insight, understanding about the youth. I mean, what's going on with the youth and what are your biggest findings?
So, Dheeraj, one of the things that when I started Yuva, I wanted to make sure that I'm not just, someone who sits in a glass cabin in Andheri and says that I understand young people, which is what I thought was the understanding when I was at Yashraj. Because at Yashraj, I was, running content and development for Y Films, which is the youth wing of Yashraj Films. And a lot of the times you would have all of these people and all of these meetings about young people, and the ideas of what young person is would come from your son or daughter or your nephew or your niece or this other young person.
Or what you are not.
Or what you are not, or what you've seen that one guy who is in the office all the time, And you realize that, I mean, obviously, young people are a lot more than the reductive ways we look at them. Like for me, the funniest thing at Yashraj was anytime I was pitched a script which was youth-centered, I would notice the trend that every writer in India used to think that young people do one of two things. either they fall in love or they murder people. There is nothing else. That is literally the binary.
In advertising, there are three things. They have tattoo, they have curly hair, and they play basketball.
Curly hair is the thing that every advertise. I have been like so fed up. I was like, please, if you have a guy, if he doesn't have a curly hair, clearly not a young person. So anyway, so yeah, these stereotypes have always existed. We wanted, when we started Yuva, we wanted to break out of this idea. So I actually decided that to kind of launch Yuva, instead of throwing like a Juhu party and calling celebrities, etc., can I actually go across the country and listen to young people? Because we wanted to build a platform on listening. So I've now been to over 150 campuses.
Amazing.
I have met over 15,000 young people in person. I spent at least 6 to 8 months on the road across 34 Indian cities, north, south, east, west, northeast, AIMS, IITs, IIMs, NITs, government, private institutions, you name it. And the common through line across every young person is a certain kind of loneliness that they feel, right?
Loneliness.
It is the common theme that you constantly keep hearing
Despite the friendships, despite the Instagram.
The online connections, despite all of these followers people accumulating, despite this creator ecosystem. In fact, if I am friends with a lot of creators. If you have a 10-minute conversation, a meaningful 10-minute conversation with a creator outside of the cameras, they will break down. This is I can promise you, you talk to any one of them. They will break down because everybody is overwhelmed with the way the world is right now. It's peak overwhelm there. It's like, how do you, see, we are, let me put it in a different way, right? There is, you and I have grown up, we're probably the last generation that has seen a world without the internet, without all social media, etc., etc. We have context. That ek dunya hoti thi.
You can be like that.
Yeah, you
can be bored, and there may not be electricity for 2 hours.
Absolutely. Boredom. You said electricity. The way I am today who I am, because I studied at a college called NIT Kurukshetra, where electricity used to go for 3-4 hours in the evening. I spent that time during my college years, because there was no LAN at that time, no Wi-Fi at that time, knocking on doors of all the roommates that were there in the hostel and just being like, hey, there's nothing to do. Aap kahan se ho? Let's just talk.
Correct.
Let's just share stories. And I got to know people across the country at that point of time. And how do you do that, something like that right now? The version of it obviously is you join online communities, which are also great safe spaces. At the same time, a young person today, when they are sad, it's very easy for them to express that sadness as a sad selfie that they'll put up on Snapchat. But if they're with a friend who's sad, they may not even recognize it because they don't understand that emotion of sadness. Because that's not something you are visibly comfortable with in a public setting, because the only spaces that they are seeing that in now is through lenses, is through cameras, is through, a meme.
Where there's a veneer everywhere.
There is a meme everywhere, right?
There's a meme everywhere.
If you are depressed, instead of really actually vulnerably having that conversation, you are sending a meme saying, I'm depressed, haha, and somebody else is like, me too, haha. And that's the way conversation is happening. Speak to literally the funniest thing that, it's an insight that was crazy to me. I kept hearing a lot of people when I talk to them, what kind of personality are you? A lot of people will be like, I'm an introvert. Now you hear that 2, 3, 4 times and you're like, okay, fine, that's the thing. Even the most extrovertish person would be like, I'm an introvert. I'm a secret introvert.
Wow.
And now then I started asking people, what would you classify as? 8 out of 10 people would be like introvert. And the reason for that is because they genuinely feel like they've not had any safe space, they've not had any place that they can genuinely express themselves.
So they're closeted introverts. Inside is not explored.
There is so much inside. Everybody has something they want to say, but there's no one to listen. That's what we are going through as a generation. So that is what I'm constantly seeing, hearing, feeling, and we are trying to solve for that in many ways with the work we do.
And is there also a pressure of performance, or are you saying that's secondary? Are you saying
there is a pressure,
or it's linked?
No. So there is. So again, think about it. Millennial versus Gen Z, right? My comparison when I was growing up was between the 3 people in my class. My mother was always like, in dinों को तुम्हें beat करना है, first आना है, right? Like you have to be in the top 3 को beat करना है. चलो तुम इतने अच्छे student नहीं हो, तुम्हारे पास 30 बच्चे हैं class के अंदर, 30 students in a class that you have to beat to be at the top. Or it could be a cousin that your mother is comparing you with, or there is a society person your mother. The world of comparisons is at max 30 to 40 people, right? Today, your parent does not even need to compare you with anyone else, because you are constantly comparing yourself with everybody on the internet.
So, are you saying it's more self-generated than say pressure from parents?
Yeah, parents are today kind of being like, please don't do it. Don't be so harsh on yourself, because you are not. Again, you are seeing if you're an 18-year-old today, anywhere in India, you are seeing 18-year-old millionaires on YouTube, on Instagram.
You're watching football, you're watching superstars.
Yeah, people who are, 18 years old, they're traveling in Emirates first class, going to London to see, they're seeing like a football club, they're seeing the premiere of a new movie, they're meeting Tom Cruise, and they're 18 and they're 19, and you're just like, what am I doing in my life? मुझे तो English भी अच्छे से नहीं आती और ये लोग Tom Cruise से मिल रहे हैं. So you're seeing a warped reality where you're seeing people accumulate a sense of numbers, both in terms of the followers they have and in terms of the money that they're making. And you are still, as a family, and that's like most of young people in India, still trying to put food on the table. How do you, where earlier you didn't have an option but to work hard, right? But right now it's like,
working hard is not good enough.
It's not good enough. So it's a really warped reality that.
And Nikhil, so you went across 150 colleges and so on and so forth. Does this vary as you go down to smaller town? Are they better off because maybe deeper connective tissues within families, more time perhaps? I don't know. Or is it same or is it more severe?
Yeah, I feel like there is definitely a class lens to it, where I do feel like, I actually honestly feel like the lesser folks are connected with each other through the internet, the happier I see they seem to be.
That's the equation.
I've gone to, government institutions where phone is not ubiquitous. So you have like a 17, 18-year-old young boy or young girl, etc. And their friendships are not being made on Instagram, Snapchat, etc. I would say the middle class and upwards, and I see this middle class is always aspiring to be where, the upper class is. There's always a status thing that's going on over there.
Perhaps there's, while there's a loneliness crisis, there's also then crisis of relationships, I would imagine, right? They go hand in hand.
Everywhere. They don't know how to form relationships. The rise of dating apps really is, it's both a symptom and a disease, so to speak. Right?
But is it as rampant as we would imagine, or?
You know what I'm seeing that's very interesting, Dheeraj, and this is something that's I'm seeing very specifically over the last 2, 3, 4 years, where either young people are getting married way early.
So you're
23, 24, they found someone who they were dating since 16, 17, they're like forever. Abhi se lock in, there is, this is we're committing. Or they are like, I don't ever want to marry.
Wow.
It's such a drastic
it's a 0-1.
thing. And the reason also for that is, I think the ones who are saying that they've either seen already, going on these apps, or trying to find relationships that last longer than, month and a half, etc. Because of, again, the paralysis of choice. When you are with somebody right now and there is an app in your phone that tells you there is more.
There's always better.
There's always more, I have met my wife in engineering college. She was my junior in engineering
we met in college as well.
I met her, liked her. I was like, okay, this part of my life is sorted. I don't need, and but it also comes from the fact that, you only had like 400 women to 4,000 boys in that college. You found a girl, you're just like, dude, I am the one who's found one and nobody else has. Versus now where you're just like, whether it's a guy, whether it's a girl, whether any other gender, the choices are so many. You are constantly at the back of your mind always thinking, the first sign of a problem, you're thinking, do I need to go through this problem? Because there are other people there. But everyone's thinking that. So then how do you commit? Everything right now is, the internet.
So what are 2 or 3 conceptual ways to solve for this? Like you're talking about the idea of listening a lot, right? You're saying nobody's listening, right? So and you're talking about mental health a lot. So where do the solutions lie for
I've been punting on this, so to speak, in many ways since we started Yuva, right? We've started an online company, but I've always punted on the offline. I genuinely feel the way forward for this entire generation and for us to actually have well-adjusted young people at some point, because I don't think anyone is at this point of time. It's really scary out there. Any young person I meet is constantly overwhelmed. But we need to have more third spaces. We need to have offline spaces. We need to have community. Why is just like, and the answers are in front of you, right? As
so it's a public support system.
No, not it. I'm giving an example.
Or,
So can you imagine that after the pandemic happened, where there was a crisis of finance with everyone? Everyone's like, oh shit, I don't have the savings. If this would have gone out, so many more people would have been broke and everyone was scared. We've never thought like that, right? Suddenly the world will stop and what do we do? If there's no job, suddenly you're being laid off because there is no office spaces, there's no business, etc., etc. No one had saved. You would imagine And at that point of time, you would imagine, see, there was also a lot of rise of, again, best example, right? Rise of online universities.
Yes.
How many online universities
Yeah.
came up saying that now essentially we have changed, Zoom will change everything, etc., etc.
Yeah.
You go to a college right now, it will be full. It will be filled with people in the canteen
online
space,
platforms
etc.
are now going bust, right?
They're going bust. An academy is now, finding it difficult to find buyers.
Yeah.
And the reason for that today is the fact that everyone is fundamentally had it wrong. I would even say, and this is a very hot take.
So you're a digital creator and you're espousing for physical spaces and physical connectivity.
We are also digital creators who create these spaces on our shows. So on Be a Manyar, I've created a space like you and I have right now, where for 2 hours, a person just comes and expresses without feeling judged.
Yeah.
There is no there are no counter questions. I would ask a question and I'll let people answer. I'm not waiting to get done. I'm not on a timeline. We shoot for 4.5 hours.
Wow.
And then we edit it down to 1.5 hours because I really. And the reason we have had folks like, Karan Johar and Vicky Kaushal and Zakir Khan and Bhuvan Bhavan and Javed Akhtar, etc. You start realizing after that also that the reason they are coming and spending this much time is because they've
valuable for
spaces.
them.
They have not had spaces in their lives. So my hot take honestly is that even as we're seeing the rise of AI is actually going to give a rise to offline community and offline connection a lot more. People are the reason where people were going on the internet became big because it was the first place where everyone felt free.
Yeah.
AI is making people feel suffocated again because you are not able to have your online creativity being expressed on the internet, which was the case earlier. You could be anybody, make anything, and it was you, it was your art, it was your artistry that people would be wowed by. Today it's AI slop. Anything, you don't know whether it's coming from a human being or if it's coming from an AI.
But why is that essentially a bad thing? I mean, maybe you can say that AI is helping people express
it is a tool.
better, right?
It's a great tool, but it's not a great medium of expression. It's a great tool to make your life easy, but it's not a tool for people to feel more human. AI in many ways makes people feel more limited. Because
you feel so?
I'm hearing it from a young
I would imagine a young person today can create a video, build images.
And that's what you would imagine. And that is what, see again, as a tool, it is fantastic. Every young person is using it. All classrooms today are like, but young people today are also self-aware enough to recognize that their skill building is now getting lesser. They can create something with AI, but can they create something with their hands?
Wow.
And now what is happening?
And you say that realization is there in people?
There's very much a realization. That's where, again, this is a very self-aware generation. This is a generation that knows that it is lonely. It is a generation that where it sits with its parents and says, we understand that you don't understand. So let us understand you. That is what I've heard from young people. Like young people having conversations with their fathers and mothers and saying like, आप शायद हमें समझ नहीं पाते, but मैं आपको समझाना चाहता हूँ या चाहती हूँ. So there's lots going on.
Have you kept an eye on what brands and businesses are trying to do with youth? I mean, because you came from a commercial space and you build content. I'm sure you do collabs with brands. And where do you think brands are going wrong? Because all the briefs we get, everybody wants to talk to Gen Z. So are they being able to talk to them? What are the big pitfalls?
To answer this in a one line, right? Everyone wants to talk to Gen Z. No one wants to listen to them. And that is essentially where you're getting it wrong. Don't just try to have a one-way communication where you think that what you're creating is going to be cool. Now, see, it's very interesting, right? Like once Cred came up with those ads, the meta humor. It happened the first time. Rahul Dravid raising his bag. Everyone's like, oh my God, this is the funniest, most original thing that we have seen. And after that, again, for the next 2 years,
200 people did it.
Everyone only thinks meta humor is the thing that's going to work. And this is where I'm saying you're failing. Because you are Gen Z is the generation that does not follow trends. It wants to lead in the trends. It wants to create them and it wants to lead them. And you are trying to be you're trying to be a sheep in a world where they really are looking. They are looking at people who could lead them. They're always looking at, the word I keep hearing from people is mentor. मुझे एक mentor चाहिए, मुझे एक mentor चाहिए. क्यों? क्योंकि they want to unlock something in themselves. And the only people that they consider mentors are people who are absolutely original in the way that they think. If you're going to be a Me Too for everybody else, then why should I follow you? I would go to Cred only if I want a great idea.
Actually, the formula for Gen Z and youth advertising has become that nothing is but humor, right? So when you talk about mentoring, it is a serious, worthy topic. But I don't think any brand would consider that because it's not funny, it is not clickbait, it doesn't stop the thumb while you're scrolling.
You think about what are the shoes what is sneakers? Sneaker culture is huge. It started with Nikes and Jordans, they were the big thing, etc. etc. You see any young person today, Comet is the shoe that is typically the one that's on their feet. What has Comet done in advertising that has been so insane? What have they done? Exactly.
Can't remember.
Exactly. Because they've not focused on the joke, the reach. They've only focused on the product.
On the product. And the detailing.
Young people today want aesthetic, but they also want affordability.
Yes.
Comet has cracked it and they've got an affordable aesthetic. The aspiration still is an iPhone. But if you have a phone that is durable, that is going to last you for 2-3 years, but is great to look at.
Why not?
Why would I say no to it? I would still want the Nike. I would still want the iPhone. I would still want these global brands. But I'm very happy with the local Indian brand that doesn't make me feel smaller.
Who else is getting it right? You spoke about Comet. Who else? Are the stand-up guys getting it right? Who's getting it right?
I mean, comedy, of course. See, again, why does stand-up work? At its fundamental level, stand-up is not trying to talk down to people. It's not trying to say you are an idiot. A lot of the best stand-up and the greatest stand-up comedians are always putting the lens on themselves and saying, I'm an idiot. So whether it is, and I'm obviously being very reductive about this, but when you hear someone like a Zakir Khan, his humor is always about कि मैं और मेरे दोस्त हम कैसे हैं और हमने कैसे गति
and if it reflects
and today and you are looking at someone who's being honest, who's being vulnerable, who's being authentic, who's laughing at himself, whereas old humor, when you look at the rise of humor at one point of time, and especially even a lot of the humor really was punching down. It was initially it started becoming bigger. People like we are not like Indians.
Now that I reflect, I mean, the body of work I would have done for youth, say Spotify work, etc., or even the Virgin Mobile work, it worked because it was reflective.
Absolutely.
And it spoke from that side up rather than our side down.
See, if I, to be very honest, when I speak to so many of these brands, I've given keynotes at like right now, Amazon, Google, Snapchat, Myntra, you name it, right? I've now gone to...
They've not learned from your keynotes.
So the first thing I ask, I'm going to say the first thing I want to ask in these keynotes without like putting anyone down is, it's a Gen Z keynote, it's about young people, telling about young people. There's an audience of like whatever, 150, 200 people. The first thing I ask is, how many people over here are Gen Z? And there's like 3 people.
They never got nominated for the...
I'm like, you have a conference, you are saying that you want to understand young people. You have a conference that is trying to understand young people. Bring a young person with you. Where is your youth representation? Do you know the young person in your office? If you are the brand head, you are the marketing head, you are the CEO, COO, etc., etc. How many young people do you actually have a relationship with from a lens of learning? Mentoring doesn't go just one way, it has to go
both ways,
now.
Of course.
You have to learn with the young person in your office. If you have a wall or a glass cabin in between who you are and who they are, you're never going to be able to cater to the youth audience. So I think it's where brands are getting it wrong is that anytime, even our companies on a call with a brand and you work with, you name it, the top brands in the country, and most of the people in the are 30 plus, and very rarely do you see a young person in that.
I completely buy that. You have to have the generation in the room to be creating. There's a reason. And in fact, I mean, we put our money where our mouth is. We this time went and hired 100 young talent and we brought them on board as star ones. And I kind of get to chat with them every 2-3 months, and the energy is amazing. It's 8 on 10. I love it. And everybody who was against that oh my God, we'll have to train them and there's a drain. Everybody's very happy.
Of course, because there's always you're never going to get newer ideas from old school
You will not, yeah.
Old school thinking is great, but you need to combine that with a young energy, with a new energy, and that's the only one you're going to be creating something that will be legacy content for this generation. You cannot create legacy content for this generation thinking
by the last generation.
By using the rules of the last generation.
So you also have an IP called Be a Man Yaar, right? So from youth to a bit more narrow focus. What's happening with the men? Is there a crisis there as well? I mean, I know of course in India, because solving for women power is such a mammoth task, and legitimately so, because it's been something which has gone wrong for so many generations, right? It perhaps needs overcorrection in some sense for it to become equitable, but very seldom do we get to talk about men, because it always goes back to a certain kind of a privilege that, oh my God, now we're going to talk about men and privilege. But what's happening there?
How do I drill this down into an insight? Because this is really my life's work and advocacy at this point of time. So let me put it this way. I feel like we've always had an understanding of how patriarchy oppresses women, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, there is not enough of a conversation about how patriarchy also oppresses the men who were once young boys. Yes. Right? Yeah. I feel like as
amazing. I love that insight. Yeah.
Like as older men, of course, I feel like today we have the tools to hold ourselves accountable. Yeah. And we cannot use an excuse to say I don't know better, especially when everybody today in the world is trying to teach you. Yeah. So there's enough learning opportunities. But when you're a young person and your world is small, when your world is your parents, when your world is your school, when your world is the peers around you, at that point of time, if you're constantly drilling down this idea of what a man is supposed to be, like today, in any household which has a boy and a girl together, you will hear a parent telling a girl that you can be anything, but you will still tell the boy that you have to be the provider of the family, and that's the problem. Where we have finally, after decades and centuries of hard work, reached a place where we are at least in a certain privileged...
Some sections,
certain privileged ecosystems, we are at least able to tell young women that you can do anything and be anything. And you don't only have to be a nurturer. You can also be a provider. But we are not telling the men that you can also be a nurturer.
Wow.
You don't just have to be a provider. And which is why, when men don't even know that nurturing is an option on the table, that first nurturing that they don't do is to themselves. And that is the reason why the crisis today is that men are hard. They are harder than in a world that demands softness, but they don't know how to be. When women today are saying that I want, and this is fair, right? Women, why should they do the emotional labor constantly of fixing men? Which is, you look at Jane Austen. Back in the day, it's always about a woman who's like, I have a project, who's a man, and I will fix. Today's woman is like, I want to work. I want to earn money. I want to
don't have time for fixing.
I have ambitions of my own. Why do I care about fixing another man? I need a fixed man. But society is not fixing men. Society needs to take up that. Men need to take up that role. Society has not even thought about men in that lens. Of course, society.
I don't think there's enough conversation about this.
It enables men. It empowers men. But at the same time, I'm talking about the boys they once were. We are failing those boys because if the option in front of any boy who has picked up a guitar as a young kid, or is drawing as a young kid, or likes sport, or likes making jokes, etc., but your parents are just like, "Arey, but tum isse paise kaise kamao?"
Correct.
And the
unless it is cricket.
Sure, even then,
which is the proven model.
Sure, but if you have a hobby and you cannot monetize it, if you cannot win a trophy for that hobby is immaterial.
So, what is the solve there? Again, you're saying more empathy, more listening. Is that the solution framework for both these problems, or
solve for everything? Honestly, is we need to take a beat, Dheeraj. I feel like we are. Think about what happened with COVID, right? For me, like I'm fascinated by COVID as an experiment of sociology.
That it paused everything.
It paused everything
for a moment.
Everybody said this is a better way of working. Everybody.
But then we all went back to everything, right?
And the moment every one of these companies which at that point of said, oh, you can take work from home and it's okay, we understand. Every one of these companies saying if you're not in office, then you're fired. If you're staying, you've given the world a vision. Hey, you can actually spend time with your children. As a 40, 45, 50-year-old, you can actually now spend time with your children and do work on your laptop or your computer, etc. You don't need to come in. You can come work twice a week. And the 3 times be with your child. And then saying, actually, now we've changed the rules again. Now you don't get to spend time with your children at all. Come back to work. And now the child is just like, my mother, my father, they were right here with me suddenly for 2 years, and now they're gone.
Yeah.
You know, again. And for me, that's fascinating, right? Like ultimately, unfortunately, capitalism always wins. And we need to just take a step back. And you know, there's a version of ethical capitalism which I truly, truly believe in. I feel like Yuva is not a non-profit. We are a for-profit.
Yeah.
We believe in impact.
But with a purpose.
Yeah, with a purpose. You know,
Yeah.
the money that we make, we put back into the impact that we want to create into the world.
Yeah.
But everybody is well paid at Yuva. I am well paid at Yuva. I'll be the first person to say it.
Yeah.
I am not doing all of this work
for sure
without having a standard of living that I can provide to my child.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time, I want to make sure that there is an equitable distribution of money within the company as well. Everybody who's working hard gets to where they are. Overt model of capitalism where every second of our time is monetized. And if it is not monetized, you feel guilty about being wasteful. You're like, if on Sundays you are not doing something productive. I mean, can you imagine when you were growing up, you know, Sundays were just like lying down on your bed and not doing anything, just listening to a song.
It didn't have to be filled with activity.
Yeah, and now if your Sunday is not filled, your children, I'm seeing children. अगर आपके Sunday को हम लोग यहाँ पार्क नहीं के जा रहे, हम वो music lesson नहीं करा रहे, इसको यहाँ dance नहीं करा रहे, football नहीं खिला रहे, then it feels like मैंने कुछ किया ही नहीं है. But if you're actually just spending 2 meaningful hours with a child, just doing nothing, you know, like playing with them and letting them play with you and doing whatever comes to your mind. That is more meaningful.
So
than
taking a beat, more purposeful business model is what you're saying.
And it's the same with men. You know, we need to take a beat and recognize that everybody, eventually as a society, we have all worked towards a system of power that has, you know, gotten us here, but not everybody is happy in this. It's an unequal distribution of power. There's a lot of marginalization, and if we really want a better world, if you're not seeing how bad it is right now, I mean, you open the newspaper anymore. I mean, I don't know if anybody does, but you open a TikTok reel, you open an Instagram reel, you can constantly see how terrible the world is. Our AQI is dipping so badly, and yet 99% of our country still goes back to office, you know, in the middle of that crazy
with masks.
With masks, without once just saying, what the fuck, this is not normal. And the reason is because none of us,
we've been conditioned
to not take a beat. The internet, social media, all of these companies have ensured that if you have a second in your time, you need to use that time to watch it.
Scroll.
You know, and
but so that dials me back to your business as a creator and platform. So in a world which is about you know, utilizing every beat for monetization, right? Being clickbaity and being viral, and how are you provoking the next big sensation? You've taken an anti-stance completely, right? You're about authenticity, slow down, depth, you know, record for 4 hours, edit for 1 hour, right? And how's that working as a business model?
I mean, we are 7 years in the company. We have made more money every year.
Amazing.
We are at a 45-member team across Bombay and Delhi. Everyone who's here stays for a very long time. Everyone's happy. There are multiple people who I've seen who've come in as kids and have gotten married at Yuva. You know, so I am very happy with what we are. I want to scale this. I'm ambitious. I want my company to grow, and not only because you know, it fuels my ego, but because I genuinely feel that the impact we are trying to create is scalable. And I want more partners to come into this vision, and really, because we need to create a better world.
That's the purpose that you want to build towards.
I truly.
But would that need a political partnership as well, or you think
we
it's
are
just...
open. We work with governments, we work with non-profits, we work with policy organizations, we work with brands, we work with young people themselves. So we want to find a way of making this world a better place for all of us, not just for young people. You know, if we are creating a better world for young people, it automatically is a better world for everybody, right?
Nikhil, from the digital content perspective, do you think this whole idea of vulnerability and authenticity will become a fashionable counter trend now? And
it already has.
Already has.
I feel like I see it. A lot of people milking it for views. Having said that, I do feel like that our generation, the young generation, is really smart.
They can figure
it out. You know, nobody who's made it massively in our country is there because they're fooling people. I can promise you that. Every youth icon today, whether it's a Prajakta Kohli, whether it's a Bhuvan Bam, whether it's Ashish Chanchalani, you know, all of these folks are folks who started from being nobodies. And young people have seen them grow. Samay Raina, I was at Samay Raina's stand-up show last night. And my God, the level of rawness
Yeah.
and the level of truth that he brought to the show last night. I was floored. I can't even imagine any celebrity of any stature in our country.
So it's real, it's not make-believe.
Having the courage, the balls to sit across an audience and say, this is how I fucked up, this is what I should have done, this is what life has done to me, and this is, I've cried, I've failed, and today here I am in front of you.
Amazing.
And and just, it's so refreshing.
Yeah. Talk to me about the platforms, right? Platforms have their life of their own. The algorithm dictates a lot of stuff, right? So how do you figure your content out? Do you create content for the algorithm? Do you create for the algorithm and for
Very
yourself?
much.
So how do you calibrate that?
Ikigai. Okay. I have that term on my wall, Ikigai. We have to find, so for us the Ikigai really is like, what does the audience want?
Yeah.
What do we want to say?
Yeah.
What does the audience want to hear? And how do we say it in a way that the algorithm also likes?
Yeah.
Right? We would never have made it as a company if we would have diminished the role of platforms. We work with all these platforms.
Sure.
We recognize that.
So it's not either or.
It cannot be.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Yeah.
How can, so the way we say it, our one-liner as a company is, how do we make important things interesting?
Yeah.
Because if the important doesn't become interesting, the interesting becomes important.
So Nikhil, when you are doing work with brands, right, collabs, etc., of course, brand marketing is all, they're called brand managers, right? Like you have to tightly manage the voice messaging of the brand. And so you have your own voice and there's a brand's voice. How do the two come together, or they don't?
No, they very much do, and I'm really
so
grateful.
how do you do it?
No, but so again, we are very grateful that today we are in a space where folks recognize what we bring to the table.
Yeah.
So as a very easy example, right? Maybelline. Maybelline has, it sells, beauty products to young folks, but as a philosophy, they care about mental health a lot. As a philosophy, they truly believe that makeup is, actually helps you get out of the bed sometimes. It helps you, find confidence in yourself. And it's not something that they're just saying, they're actually investing a lot of money in.
Yeah.
They come, when they need someone to do a mental health work, they first come to us for that.
Yeah.
So
that's very natural.
It's such a natural fit, right? So they come to us. We trained 50,000 students, for Maybelline and with Maybelline, with 13 psychologists across the country on their first mental health toolkit. They loved the work we did on ground. By that time, Be a Man had become really, well known. And they said, now we want to take this on ground initiative to an online place where it can find reach. And again, the idea was we want to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Now again, I'm already doing Be a Man here. I don't want to do one more thing which is the same. But they say that we've had such a positive partnership. And this is where trust happens, right? I'm like, what, the thing that I feel like we could do is, what if we did a live podcast within students, in campuses?
Yeah.
And then we went and they were like, well, no one's done this, let's try it out.
Yeah.
And it broke out in its first season even more than a Be a Man.
Amazing.
Where we have gone to LSR, we have gone to Xavier's, we have gone to all kinds of, we've gone to Miranda House, we've gone to all kinds of colleges across the country. In the middle of 50, 70, 100 students, I have had a conversation with a Veer Das, with a Raghav Juyal, with a Dolly Singh, etc., etc. And the students have asked questions and we have laughed together, we have cried together. And it feels like a group therapy session.
Nice.
And that is what ultimately is what makes us so unique, right? We understand what young people want. And we also believe we know what they need. And how do we find, again, the Ikigai of finding what the brand wants, what we are good at, what young people need, and of course what the algorithm is going to serve. How do we bring all of that together? So there is a magic to it. There is see, again, I have my first 10 years were in mainstream entertainment. I have created 4 of the first 10 web shows in our country. Which was literally Bang Baja Bara, Ladies Zoom, Papu Papa. They are each on 60-70 million views. I have been at MTV. I have started with Hindustan Times. I've been at Yash Raj. I did.
You know the media game.
I did something called the Six Pack Band that won the Cannes Grand Prix last line.
Yeah.
I was the producer on that.
Oh, amazing.
So I know how advertising works. I know, and I also truly believe that brands, I can't speak to brand, but every brand manager that I've spoken to, always comes with the right intent. Ultimately, of course, they also have a job to keep and they want to show ROI, they want to impress their senior. At the same time, every brand manager I've ever met
wants to make an impact.
Wants to do something that is going to last longer than they would.
Yeah.
And that's the belief system I also come with. Yeah, let's create legacy. Let's not just do something for clickbait. Let's do something that is click worthy.
Nice. Click worthy. On that note, a quick fire round.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
What's something you're actively unlearning these days?
I'm unlearning my ideas of what it meant to be a dad, because I've just become a father to a 7-8 month old, and
That's so sweet.
She's teaching
Yeah.
what I need to be.
Oh, amazing. That's such a beautiful thought. Yeah. If you could talk to a 20-year-old you, what's the one thing you'd say today?
Take some time out for yourself. Don't constantly just hustle. Spend some time with your friends, with your family. Just enjoy yourself a little bit more than you did.
Beautiful. A lesson your daughter taught you this week.
Oh, wow. She taught me that she's like 7-month-old babies are much stronger than we imagine.
Oh.
Because she pulls my hands after pulled my
Nice.
nose sometimes.
Oh my God.
Just like,
She's getting
where is the
strength.
strength coming from? You're a baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like babies are strong.
Nice.
I had no idea.
Yeah. A stereotype about mental health you want to erase?
Wow, that it only happens to the privileged.
Yeah.
That the understanding is it's a foreign concept. In a country with farmer suicides, we always constantly say that mental health is a privileged thing. With one of the highest rates of student suicides in the world, we say mental health is a privileged thing. That has to, therapy speak is for the privileged, but mental health and mental wellness.
They don't get the support, you're saying.
Yeah, it doesn't get the support. It doesn't have the language across the country.
Yeah. A small joy you absolutely protect for yourself.
My daughter, right now, everything that she does, just who she is, like every part of her is joy. It's just joy, pure joy.
Amazing. Nikhil Taneja, thank you so much for this awesome conversation. A lot of heart for what you're trying to build.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully, India learns to get a beat with all the work you're doing, and more power to you.
I appreciate you having me here, Dheeraj. It was such a wonderful
Amazing.
time talking to you. Thank you so much.